Welcome back to another episode of A Scottish Castle a Day, brought to you by bagtownclans.com. I'm your host, Colin MacDonald, and today we're travelling to the shores of Loch Fyne in Argyll, where the ruins of Tarbert Castle rise proudly over the village of Tarbert, a once mighty fortress with a long and turbulent history. This medieval stronghold, though now only a shadow of its former glory, played a key role in Scotland's history, and today we're going to explore how it became a strategic centrepiece in the power struggles of the Western Highlands. Tarbert Castle is located on a narrow isthmus that connects the Kintyre peninsula to the Scottish mainland. Its strategic position allowed it to control the passage between the west coast and the Firth of Clyde. Perched about 60 feet above the sea, it has commanding views of the surrounding landscape and harbour, making it the perfect lookout for any potential threats approaching by land or water. Though the ruins we see today are sparse, they stand as a silent witness to the centuries of battles, royal intrigue, and political manoeuvring that shaped the region. The history of Tarbert Castle is as rugged as the landscape it overlooks. We first hear of Tarbert in the early 8th century when King Selbach macFerchair of Dalriata burned the site in 712, and again when his son Dungal did the same in 731. These early conflicts set the stage for what was to come in the following centuries. The area, strategically important for controlling access to the Western Highlands, has always been a point of contention, and as the Kingdom of Scotland developed, so too did the need to fortify this important site. By the 13th century, a proper stone fortress had been built at Tarbert. It was during this period that Edward I of England, often known as the Hammer of the Scots, handed over control of the castle to John Balliol, the puppet king he had installed on the Scottish throne. However, this transfer of power didn't last long. Balliol's reign was brief, and soon the wars of Scottish independence erupted, during which the castle saw its fair share of conflict. It was Robert the Bruce, King of Scots, who left an indelible mark on Tarbert Castle. In 1325, Bruce ordered significant repairs and expansions to the fortress, transforming it into one of his key strongholds in the west. This was not just a defensive move. Bruce used the castle to assert control over the Western Highlands, a region that had long resisted central authority. The enhancements made under his orders included an outer bailey and towers, enclosing a hillside where the local population could seek shelter with their livestock during times of strife. The castle's strategic location made it perfect for Bruce's purposes, allowing him to secure this vital region while keeping an eye on the Lords of the Isles, who wielded considerable power in the area. The castle's significance didn't end with Robert the Bruce. As the centuries passed, it continued to be a focal point in the power struggles of the region. In 1494, King James IV of Scotland, in his campaign to break the power of the Lords of the Isles, captured the castle from John MacDonald, Lord of Islay. This marked the beginning of the end for the once mighty lords, as James systematically dismantled their authority. During this period, the castle's iconic tower house, the most prominent part of the ruins today, was constructed. This structure, dating from the early 16th century, was likely built under James I as part of his efforts to fortify his hold over the Western clans. It's fascinating to think that what remains of Tarbert Castle today is a direct result of this royal intervention. However, like many castles across Scotland, Tarbert Castle eventually fell into disuse and disrepair. By the late 17th century, The castle had become little more than a relic of Scotland's feudal past. It did play one last role in a political drama when, in 1687, Walter Campbell of Skipness Castle seized Tarbert as part of his support for Archibald Campbell, 9th Earl of Argyll, during the Monmouth Rebellion. This was a turbulent time, with power struggles not only in Scotland but also in England, and once again, Tarbert Castle became a battleground for greater political forces. Today, only a few of Tarbert Castle's walls remain standing. Most of the original structure has crumbled over the centuries, with nature slowly reclaiming what was once a powerful fortress. The most visible remnant is the Tower House, which, despite its weathered appearance, still gives a sense of the castle's imposing past. If you stand on the high ground where the castle sits, it's easy to see why this location was chosen for such a stronghold. The views stretch far across Loch Fyne, offering a commanding perspective over the water approaches. Although much of the castle lies in ruins, it remains a key part of the local heritage. The community of Tarbert now owns the site, and it has been integrated into a volunteer-maintained heritage park. The preservation efforts are modest but meaningful, as they ensure that visitors can still appreciate this slice of Scotland's medieval history. In its heyday, Tarbert Castle wasn't just a fortress for soldiers and nobility. Like many castles of its time, it likely served as a refuge for the local peasantry in times of danger. The wide courtyard, added by Robert the Bruce, was designed to accommodate not just warriors, but also the livestock and villagers from the surrounding area. In times of peace, it was a place of governance and lordship where disputes were settled, taxes were collected, and local affairs were managed. In times of war, it became a sanctuary. Despite its current state, Tarbert Castle still stands as a reminder of Scotland's complex history, one filled with conflict, resilience, and adaptation. Each stone in its remaining walls tells a story of a bygone era when Scotland was forged in battles for independence and control over its wild and untamed lands. Thank you for joining me today on A Scottish Castle a Day as we explored the fascinating history of Tarbert Castle. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we continue our journey through Scotland's rich heritage, uncovering the stories behind another one of its great castles. I'm Colin MacDonald, and until next time, Slán go foil.